I'm here tonight to introduce Wendy McClure. Wendy's the chair of the Historic Preservation Commission, also chair of Planning and Zoning Commission, and Wendy dedicates an incredible amount of time to these two commissions as well as the city, and it's been a pleasure working with her over the years. And we wouldn't be able to do without, what we do without Wendy's leadership. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to her.
Good evening, Wendy.
Good evening, Mayor Lambert and Council, and thank you, Michael. And I have to echo that about Michael. He makes our job much easier as staff liaison, and also I appreciate Walter Steed's service this year as commission liaison, and Ann Peterson too. She keeps us on track, so we really appreciate that support. So this is our annual report. We've been busy as a commission again this year, and hopefully I'll get this right as we go forward. We are still in the process of trying to recruit members for a few vacancies. We've had folks attend several meetings, and we're hoping that they'll go ahead and apply. So you may hear from them, but at any rate, we have a core group and a student member, Shirin Masudi. And we meet on the fourth Thursday of every month, except when things like Christmas and Thanksgiving change those dates. So that's the case this year. We have several ongoing projects that we do annually. One of the biggest ones is our newsletter, and it takes about 9 meetings of just the commission plus working with consultants to figure out agree on what we're going to focus on for the year, and also the content. Barb Coiner has worked with us for the last several years. She's full of energy if you've ever met her. She produces, in our opinion, a dynamite newsletter, and she works with Pam Overholzer, who was on the commission for many years but moved to California this year. But she still has been helping her with the graphics. And this year we decided to focus on food and on downtown Main Street, restaurants both past and present, and the role that food has played in our downtown over the course of its history, really. So hopefully you'll have a chance to look through this more carefully. Ken Carper donated one of his photos to help be incorporated into the cover. So we thank him for that as well. Another ongoing annual task is to try to recognize signature preservation projects throughout the community. This year, it just so happened that in terms of that had been accomplished in the last year, this year we did award one residential project, and I can't read. Oh, I can read it here. Jessica Lucas on 7th Street and her new garage and connection that we felt was really in keeping with her craftsman home on 7th Street. And then 3 restaurants that you can see that represent adaptive use of spaces. One being Hunga Dunga, and its owner Graham Lilly, and they repurposed Stuckey Seed buildings. I guess I have a family interest here. My husband, William Thompson, and the owners of Tapt, who took Bill's building and the main floor. You can probably remember the succession of uses in that space, from Army-Navy store to Wild Women Traders that went down in the recession to, let's see, it had a sort of trying to make it thrift store, and now Tapt, which has been very successful, and that's really credit to the owners of Tapt, who are young and energetic. And also colleagues of mine, Patty and Matt Brim. Matt's a member of the architecture faculty, took the old, the new Hong Kong. I always get it mixed up with the old Peking. Anyway, the new Hong Kong, and they really, we applaud them for preserving the wonderful interior, but making it work better, and bringing a new restaurant into that space. So this Orchid Awards event is not only do we give awards, but we also try to make it event night. This year we had a panel of all these various participants talking about their experience in remodeling buildings and the challenges they ran into. And you'll have to look forward to next year's event and come to that. So our biggest ongoing project that now is almost concluded, I think. It's not quite up on the internet yet, I looked tonight, but we've been working on expanding the Fort Russell District, which was founded in 1980, the first version, and we've gone through multiple steps to get there, worked with consultants initially for the first 3 phases, 80 preservation from Spokane, and they had to start by, and we've sort of cobbled together grants to keep the process in motion. Working with, phase 1 was surveying the existing district and figuring out, and then looking at a bigger, we wanted to clarify the boundaries a bit, and so we went all the way out to, in this initial survey, out to 6th Street and to Hayes Street and a little bit and D Street, and then the south is the west boundary is a little bit less clear. And they surveyed those properties in the first phase. You can see the blue area delineates that, quite a large number of properties. And then we started to make sense of the data and see where it made sense to draw the boundaries for the new district, the revised district, that had, and also what the period of significance is. And in this case, it's really from the late 1870s to 1940, and then you see a change of development pattern, really where you start to see ranch houses and more post-war World War II housing, et cetera. So the district was really defined by some of those criteria. This is part of the original sort of survey, just to see what was in the existing district, and we ended up settling on the boundaries that you see in green, and we wanted them to be clean, straight, good old geographic lines, but topography gets in the way, and the other, as you fall off the cliff on the west, and the other thing that happens is you have to have a certain percentage of contributing buildings, and so the zigzags really jog around areas where there was a cluster of too many buildings that would not be considered contributing to the historic significance of the district. So those are the boundaries, but basically you can say it's 3rd Street, Hayes Street, D Street, and and that little armature north of D Street is really because that house was included in the first district, so we didn't want to cut them out, so they're part of it still. Anyway, that was an accommodation. And here are the range, and also the way we were able to build in more houses than and properties than would initially have been envisioned is that we pushed for the state to look at offer more tolerance in modifications of a district that's grown over time. Like people need to add on to their house. How do they do that? Well, sometimes they need to put dormers up in the attic to capture that space. And some consultants in preservation don't like that, but we convinced them that this was important. And looking at additions as a way to grow as well, and sometimes contemporary materials to replace those that are high maintenance. So after, with those, applying those criteria, and the revised district boundary, we've picked up quite a few new properties. And let's see, we submitted the National Register forms to the Idaho State Historic Sites Review Board in 2016. They weren't quite, we thought we were all sealed and done because we'd been working with them, and they they threw us a caveat, which was new rules from the National Park Service that we got caught in the middle of, which required also a documentation of all the accessory structures in the proposed district. So we rather than go get a grant, hire the consultants back, we did it ourselves, and we went and inventoried those structures. And if you remember last winter, every alley where accessory structures reside had ice in it and icicles, and it was, it took a while. We didn't have the best weather, but we got it done. And as far as I know, Mike, we're amended and on the National Register as of September 25th. It's not officially on the state of Idaho's website yet, but it's hopefully going to show up soon. I checked tonight and it wasn't there. So the total number of properties went up quite a bit, and we're up to 73% contributing within the amended district, and quite a few more houses to call our to take pride in being part of Fort Russell. And this is all honorary. I mean, people can tear down their house tomorrow. That's a common misperception about the National Register, that it's not really a protection measure, it's an acknowledgement and a recognition. So if anybody tells you otherwise, they're wrong, unless there are federal funds involved, and then there has to be a survey. But anyway, that's I guess that's the final district right there. Okay, so quite a few more properties. And our new project, that's not an ongoing project, that's becoming a new ongoing project, is interpretive signage. And this has been in the Preservation Commission's goals since long before I joined them. I decided I was going to try to push it through this year or in the next few years. And so we're starting with really these 3 signature buildings in our institutional buildings, 4, excuse me. And the first one that we're focusing on, 2, are this building and the 1912 Center, because the city owns them, and and they seem like a great place to start. They're both on the National Register. So we've been working with consultants to design both the sign stand and also some of the graphic layout. And then Mike has been incredible with his skills from here to help us tweak what we got from the consultants, because they weren't quite there yet. So we're hoping to get the 1912 Center stand installed to make Jenny happy for some opening event she has next summer, and the Moscow City Hall in the coming year. So. And I think, and so we're also always looking for other places that might have the material to become an historic district. We'd like to initiate a dialogue with Ray Pankoff and others from the University of Idaho about the core of campus also being an historic district. And so that's about it. We've done a lot of stuff this year. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, thank you for that good presentation. Wendy? Catherine?
I was curious, when you figure out the placement for the 1912 information center, where have you picked a location?
We have, yeah. I mean, Jenny and I spent an afternoon looking at options, and where her preferred place, which I think will work pretty well, and it actually will cost us less money because it has a head start, is right on the plaza, but sort of south-facing on the raised planter. So the stand won't have to be so elaborate because it's just going to be in the soil, with plants around the base. But it's about the right height, with a little bit of boost. It's about the right height, and that'll be our starter sign. And that's why we're jumping on that one ahead of this one, because it's going to be more involved with the cost of making stands, et cetera. So, and we need to go through the public process, obviously, of consulting, making sure the stakeholders are happy, making sure you all are happy, and who else do we have to make happy? Anyway, so it's a process, and we're in process. So, thank you.
Other questions for Wendy?
Yep.
Thank you so very much for
Sure.
your good hard work, Wendy, and keep it up. We appreciate that report.
Okay, thank you.